Day 5 of training camp for the New Orleans Saints is officially in the books, and this is a little bit of a special one because the pads finally came on. Who looks sharp? Who needs to do a little bit more improvement? And what's the latest on the quarterback situation for the Saints? We'll talk about that right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Rosevogel, and as always, the Straight Up Saints podcast is brought to you by Scott Vicknair Injury Lawyers. If you've been injured in any kind of accident, car, truck, 18-wheeler, hurt offshore, Scott Vicknair handles it all. You give him a call at 504-500-1111 for a free consultation. They'll always fight for the win. Day 5 of training camp for the Saints is officially over. Practice ended, and we got a lot to talk about yesterday. Did a little bit of a focus on guys like Danny Stutzman, Chase Young, Carl Granderson, a lot of the standouts from yesterday's practice. Now that the pads are on, there are definitely a couple of standouts to get to, but before we do all that, let's talk about the most important thing for the New Orleans Saints right now, and that's the quarterback situation. So on Sunday, not enough was seen. Spencer Rattler got QB1 reps, and if you watched, looked at all the reporting, paid attention to what was being said out there, not enough was shown to be really impressed with the QB1 situation. Well, today, Tyler Shough gets his go at it, and a great opportunity for the rookie quarterback from Louisville to maybe edge out in front, close the gap, whatever you may want to put it for this quarterback situation. And frankly, that just didn't happen. Doesn't mean that neither quarterback is going to end up being a viable option for the Saints, but this quarterback battle has not really materialized to the point where there's a clear-cut winner or there is a definitive playmaker at the quarterback spot. Some nice moments for Shough, still a little risk adverse for people's liking. And I think for Tyler Shough, look, for him, it's going to be, even though he's an older rookie, all right, it's still a learning process, because if you look at the way his career has progressed, right, you play at Oregon 3 years, miss a lot of time due to injury, play at Texas Tech 3 years, miss a good amount of time due to injury, and you have that one season with Louisville. Yeah, he's played a lot of football, but considering he was in college for 7 years, it's not as much as you'd expect relative to the years spent. And I think for Tyler Shough right now, when you see these inconsistencies, it almost is a little frustrating in the sense that he doesn't have the luxury that a lot of rookie quarterbacks may have. I think a lot of rookie quarterbacks, you usually get selected and you're going to be given time to grow. For example, the Giants selected Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart might not even play at all this season, and that's okay. They'll start Russell Wilson, and if they start him next year, it is what it is. He has a full year to learn. I don't know if Tyler Shough has that luxury, because if things were to go south for the Saints and they're in the quarterback market, they might just select another one for the 4th straight year, and this time do it in the first round, which is something we haven't seen in decades for the franchise. So anyway, back to the quarterback battle here. With today's inconsistent day for Tyler Shough, again, not a god-awful day. I wouldn't say either quarterback has really had a god-awful day, but not impressive enough. I think you're still in this standstill of, I don't know if either quarterback has yet to solidify themselves. And it's going to come back to this point, right? When you hear about an inconsistent practice from Spencer Rattler on Sunday, and you hear about an inconsistent practice about Tyler Shough on Monday, I think this hammers across the point that the preseason games are what will matter. How does Tyler Shough look in the preseason? How does Spencer Rattler look in the preseason? Because similar to last year, remember when Rattler and Haener went at it in the preseason, for us fans, you couldn't hide it anymore. We saw that Rattler was better than Haener in those preseason games, and obviously played better than him in the regular season when they got their spot starts. Similar thing has to happen now for the quarterbacks, in my opinion. You haven't seen anyone really separate in practice, albeit early, only 5 of them in. Preseason games, first one on August 10th, that is where you'll see the real difference for these two quarterbacks. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't got any highlights, because I have one to show you here. Rattler had an opportunity today to kind of show off that arm strength, and to Rashid Shaheed, who we've mentioned, it seems like he's primed for a nice breakout season for the speedster. And again, look, I mentioned Rashid Shaheed yesterday. He's a guy that has continued to ascend every step of his journey in the NFL. Added a lot of muscle to his frame this year. I think he's capable of being a wide receiver too if he continues to take those ascensions. Still has ways to go, but I'm excited about him. And for Rattler, obviously, for Shough, you're still going to see nice throws every practice. I think that's the one thing you can't deny about these two quarterbacks. They have the arm talent. Are they going to be able to string together consistent days? That is the question. So let me move past the quarterbacks. I've exhausted a lot of energy about it, and I feel like I've been repeating myself a million times over this, and I don't want to bore you guys down with that. Let's talk about playmakers and guys that I think are going to step up and guys that I think need to step up for the Saints. Let's start with one that has burnt me far too many times over the last 2 years. And guess what? I am willing to get burnt about this again because there's no way to put it without being blunt. Fuck it. I have stock in Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller is the type of guy that every time he's on the field, he's going to convince me that he could be a good football player because I think he is a good football player. The man just can't stay healthy. Final year at TCU, ends up missing the rest of the season at the end because of a knee injury. Late in the year, obviously had a great final season at TCU, but the knee injury there, unfortunately, lingered going into his first year with the Saints, and just hasn't been able to stay healthy. Injuries galore would be the thing for Kendre Miller. And he, yesterday at practice, after a pretty nice showing, told reporters that he feels great and said he's playing at around 215 pounds. For reference, he's usually weighed in at 220 if you check most sites. So 5 pounds lighter, let's say, than what he usually plays at. And does that make all the difference for Kendre Miller? I don't know. Just having a new kind of training staff around the building, medical team, where maybe you're going about your rest days different, your recovery days are a little different. Maybe that is the difference for Kendre Miller. We'll see. What can't be denied, though, is every time this guy is on the football field and every time he gets a chance to show what he can do with the football in his hands, you see some magic. And it's something as simple as a training camp video that'll get you excited because he is a not just a one-cut runner. He's the type of guy that when he's decisive, he can make those plays. And his running style is so much different from Alvin Kamara's. It's a little bit more violent where Alvin kind of glides on the football field. And Lord knows we've all loved that about Alvin. Alvin's running ability, it just seems so nonchalant in the coolest way possible. Kendrick's a little bit more violent with his cuts. And I would love to see that 1-2 punch finally, come to fruition. And in Kellen Moore's offense, where I think that they can really utilize the run to their advantage, especially because I think that this offensive line is very talented. First-round talent everywhere you go. Left tackle, left guard, right guard. Obviously, center McCoy is the only one not, but Eric McCoy, we know how good he is. So, all that to be said, is this the year that Kendre Miller finally puts it together? I think like a lot of the stars do align. You change up how they're going to go about their rest days. You change up how you're attacking the medical side of things. Something that I think Dennis Allen, I don't want to kick the guy while he's already down, although he's in Chicago now and he's worrying about his defense there. That clearly wasn't the thing the Saints were willing to adapt. Like they were just letting the same injuries happen over and over again. So maybe that's a difference for Kendre Miller. Another year of experience in this league, an offensive-minded coach. There's just a lot of things that are pointing in the right direction. And then you just see him on the football field and he does things like this. Where, again, it's just a training camp video. I know it's a slow-mo. It's designed to look good. But God damn it, the guy is a violent runner. He's a good runner. And you see it even during his limited games that he plays with the Saints. When he's on the field and he gets his touches, he usually makes the most of them. Just doesn't get a lot because he can't stay healthy. So I'll put it on the record from now. I am willing to get burnt by the Kendre Miller hype one more time, because if it doesn't happen this year for Kendre Miller, and this is more reason for me to buy into the hype, if it doesn't happen for him in year 3 of his rookie contract, when the hell is it going to happen? Because usually when you're a running back, the best years of your career are supposed to happen on that rookie deal. That's when your legs are fresh. That's when the team's maximizing you because you're not getting paid as much as if you were going to get that second deal. Now or never for Kendre Miller. I'd like to think it's now. So we'll see what happens with the talented running back. But I'm going to continue to buy the hype because I can't help myself. I'm a hype beast when it comes to that department. So let's keep it rolling with some good things. Devon Godchaux looked impressively strong during defensive line, offensive line drills. You bring him over from New England. Didn't really give up anything for him. It was a day 3 pick. Obviously, he's the one guy that will play that nose tackle spot that you feel like it's a seamless transition into Brandon Staley's system. So, I like Devon Godchaux. They gave up really nothing to get him. I think for this defense, they can definitely use a guy in the middle that's going to just take up a ton of space, which is what he's going to do. And for New Orleans, they have lacked that dominant defensive line in the interior from a strength perspective. Brian Brzez's a really good pass rusher, but that overwhelming strength to just take two offensive linemen on, and just really open up gaps for your edge rushers, Chase Young, who, by the way, continues to play well in training camp, or Carl Granderson. You just kind of want that space eater. And maybe Devon Godchaux could be that. He looked great today at Monday's practice with the pads on. And again, he's not going to be your every down guy, but can he shine on those run situations? I think he probably can. So we'll see what happens with Devon Godchaux. But again, they bought so low on him. And it's not that he's playing at a low point in his career. It's just New England switching defenses. New Orleans was switching defenses. Trade kind of made sense for both sides. So, the opportunity is going to be there. And again, I've mentioned it before. I don't love the Saints defensive tackles outside of him. I think Bryan Bresee is a really good pass rusher at that defensive tackle spot, but the Saints need a little bit more. What's the weird way of putting it? Like ass and mass. That's kind of what they need. And Devon Godchaux fills that requirement for sure. A player that I'm also excited about, and this one's probably more exciting to me because I just love the safety position. It's just one of those spots that I think that those guys are electrifying players on the football field. Julian Blackmon. An unorthodox way of getting him, right? Tyrann Mathieu retires right at the start of training camp. So they go out there and they get the former safety from the Indianapolis Colts, who is a damn good football player. And I said this when they signed him, and you guys can go back and watch the video when we did our little breakdown of the signing. Over the last 2 years, he's had 7 interceptions. So he is a playmaker. Last season, he had a torn labrum in week 1. Ends up playing 16 games, plays through it. He admit, man, I was gunning for a big contract. That shoulder injury, I was not able to be the impactful guy that I usually am. Still had an okay season for his perspective and for most safeties, but not up to his standard. He'd like to be better than what he was. Julian Blackmon already, he's with the ones. He's already getting starting reps, even though the Saints were working him up with the second team at first. His interchangeability, I guess is the best way of putting it. You could play him close to the line of scrimmage. You could drop him back. And I think because Justin Reid likes to play up, you'll probably drop Julian Blackmon back. Had an interception during Sunday's practice, looked sharp during Mondays as well. Look, I just think this is a guy that when you look over the course of his career, success throughout his time in Indy, comes over to New Orleans now. Great opportunity. It's not like he was signed because, we need anyone out there. No, he was going to get signed by someone. And we've seen this trend over the last couple of years. Think of Justin Simmons last season with the Atlanta Falcons. We've kind of seen this trend where if safeties are not getting what they're worth, they kind of end up laying out there on the market a little bit longer than most positions. And we've seen that now for the last couple of seasons. That's kind of what happened with Julian Blackmon. And you kind of wait, you pick your spot. Tyrann Mathieu retires. And this isn't rage bait. This isn't trying to, knock one player, because Tyrann Mathieu, obviously career-wise, far superior player. But I'd argue Tyrann Mathieu at this stage in his career last season, before he retired, compared to Julian Blackmon when healthy, I actually do think Blackmon might be the better football player right now. And even if you don't think that, fine, you're not going to get a drop-off. You'll get a drop-off maybe in leadership because Tyrann Mathieu, I think, is a gem of a guy in the locker room. And obviously, the guy's been a baller for well over a decade. But I think Julian Blackmon, in the prime of his career, still playing for something to prove when it comes to contracts, because if he has a big year here, maybe someone else down the road pays him. I don't know if New Orleans would. You just paid money to Justin Reid at that safety spot. But a lot of opportunity here. And like I said, he is climbing up the board. So Julian Blackmon's stock is up for him. And I think that's good for the Saints. The only concern I'd say right now is there are a lot of arrows pointing up for players on defense. And I came into this offseason saying, man, I don't know if they have enough playmakers on defense. So is it I grossly underestimated the defense, or is the offense struggling to the point where, man, the defense is getting a little bit of a confidence boost? Now, some of the guys who the arrow's pointing up for, I'm not surprised. Chase Young, look, I mentioned this when they gave him that deal. I understand the risk of paying Chase Young. He has never really shown in back-to-back seasons that he can be a huge playmaker at that defensive end spot. But the talent's there, and he finished the season really strong. Well, now he's healthy, in a system that he likes, a little bit lighter, he said. Feels like he's flying on the field, and you're seeing it every single day. So I'm not surprised when Chase Young shines. But Danny Stutzman's already looked good, although, you know what? Like the rookie from Oklahoma, but he looks even better than some people have thought already. So far, the Saints have liked what they've seen from Julian Blackmon, like I mentioned. Devon Godchaux, really nice day today. Bryan Bresee had a pretty good day today. Carl Granderson had a good day yesterday. So you're hearing all this good news about the defense, and that's good, right? Because, again, there's such a question mark. We talk about the offense with the new quarterback and Kellen Moore, but God damn it, the defense is going through a little bit of a facelift as well when it comes to what's going on. Brandon Staley comes in, new system. So for them, is it more so I grossly underestimate it? And some of these guys who we've said they need to step up are doing their part? Is the offense not ready yet? Is a mixture of both? I think that's something that only time will tell, and you get your answer by playing different teams. You won't get your answer over the next couple of days, right? Because the defense might keep shining, and then you might think, oh, well, maybe this is a top 15, top 10 defense. But you really won't get that answer till the season starts, obviously, and they get the ball rolling with what will be pretty interesting slate out of the gate, right? Arizona, San Francisco, Buffalo, Seattle. Like, that's not going to be an easy slate to start the first 4 games of the season. So that's when you'll kind of get your answer to things. But when you're talking about who's on the rise, a lot of it's defense. And truthfully, I'm okay with it right now because I still think offensively, you know what Alvin's going to bring. You know what Olave's going to bring. I think Shahid's a damn good player. I like to see Juwan be consistent, but who knows? Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year. Offensive line, though, I know what Fuaga is going to bring to the table. Eric McCoy's a great offensive lineman. Cesar Ruiz, for all the criticism he gets, you know what you're going to get out of him. Questions about Trevor Penning. Questions about Kelvin Banks, although Kelvin Banks seemed to hold his own out there today in pads, which is great to see. But there's talent there. So, yes, there is a question about the quarterback position, and we have not gotten a full answer to it yet. But defensively, I've had all these questions, and right now, you know, when I take my notes down, and I like to take my notes down on index cards and then keep them in a pile so I have them for each day, a lot of the arrows are pointing up, and that is great to see. Now, before I let you guys go, I want to go back to the quarterbacks real quick. I want to mention something that has been causing a little bit of a debate on Twitter last day, I would say. So, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport was talking about the Saints quarterback battle. He brought up Tyler Shough, and this is what he had to say, and these comments kind of concern people. He said, let's start with Tyler Shough. The New Orleans Saints spent all this time scouting him and eventually drafted him. There's a lot to like, but you're never quite sure what you're going to get. So talking to some of the coaches here, the most important thing for Shough is he made of the right stuff. Guys like him. Guys follow him. He's in early. He stays late. The mental part's really good at. How will he play? We don't know. A lot of the times dropping a rookie quarterback in there can go really fast. Not every rookie quarterback is ready for that. Even someone as experienced as him. At least they like what they got. Now, there's no timetable for a quarterback competition. It sounds like the kind of thing that's going to play itself out on the field. The right quarterback will emerge, and the coaches will acknowledge that. That will be the start of it. Right now, it's been basically rotating each guy and giving each a shot. So a lot of Saints fans were worried that Ian Rappaport, when talking about the quarterbacks, was mentioning how Tyler Shough is made of the right stuff, and behind the scenes is where people like what they see out of Shough. Because a lot of people said, man, if it's behind the scenes, that means he's not doing much on the field. And that might be true. That might be true. But I don't know if it means that they're completely out on what they've seen on the field. Because I've seen a lot of that right now. And I know it's easy, and I'm guilty of this. The easy thing right now is to overreact to certain Saints things. And, I just said before I'm buying on Kendre Miller hype. Again, like an idiot. So it's easy to overreact to those things. But I don't know. I really think we should wait for the preseason to start and then go from there. Before we jump to conclusions about what Tyler Shough is and isn't, before we jump to conclusions about what Spencer Rattler is and isn't, let's wait for these preseason games to kind of play themselves out and see what goes from there. But I can understand why that caused concern. The wording of it made it seem like, well, he's a smart dude and guys like him. And then that was it. And in a position that the Saints are in right now where they don't have a definitive starter, that's not all you want to hear. You want to hear, man, this guy's ripping it on the field and he's playing great. Like, you want to hear all these glowing things and you haven't heard them yet. There's still time for that to come. There's going to be a maturation process for Shough and even for Rattler, and we'll see how it all plays out. But my final thing I leave to you guys as I head out here is just remember that every day is going to be kind of a lesson for these quarterbacks. They're both still young, and they're both still kind of going through it. And the preseason games will tell us a better story than the actual practices right now, because seeing the same defense every day for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks straight, it's going to be a little different when they go up against a different coaching staff, their mythologies, their personnel, and how do those quarterbacks adjust? And again, it's going to be a lot of vanilla coverage in the preseason, but you'll get a little bit more clarity about this situation. So we'll see what happens from there, guys. Let me know in the comment section below what you think so far about Saints training camp. Who are the players that you've been keeping an eye on, that you've been impressed with, that you want to see a little bit more of? Let us know in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. And as always, guys, make sure to subscribe to Boo Crew Media for more coverage about the New Orleans Saints, which you can find right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.